Chosen One, a high-level intervention, is currently dismantling the false security of those who sought to destroy you. Someone at the top just asked your abuser, "Do you know who you hurt?" They don't know yet, and that ignorance is the very thing that will lead to their downfall. While your abuser assumes you have faded into a forgotten history of victims, a person of immense power has already connected the dots and pulled up your name like evidence in a silent trial. You know what is beautiful about this. You did not even have to say anything. You did not have to scream your truth from rooftops. You did not have to beg for justice or validation or revenge. You just existed. You healed in silence. You rebuilt yourself when nobody was watching. You walked away with dignity while your abuser continued destroying, thinking invincibility was guaranteed. And now the universe has sent someone with actual power to ask the question you stopped asking long ago, because you already knew the answer. But your abuser is about to find out the hard way what happens when you underestimate someone who turned pain into power, someone who became unbreakable while your abuser was busy breaking others. This is not just about one question. This is about a system, a structure, a web of people who thought darkness would last forever. Your abuser was not working alone. Abusers never are. There were enablers, silent witnesses, people who knew and said nothing, people who benefited from your destruction, people who smiled at you while sharpening knives behind their backs. And for a long time, this network functioned perfectly. Everyone played the assigned role. Everyone kept mouths shut. Everyone protected each other, because that is what predators do, build ecosystems of silence. But something shifted. Someone at the top, someone who is not part of that ecosystem, started asking questions. And when people at the top start asking questions, everything beneath them starts cracking. Power is not about titles or positions or how loud you can talk in a room. Real power is about information, about knowing what others think is hidden, about asking questions that expose the architecture of lies people built entire lives on. And the person asking about you right now has that kind of power. This is not some random observer. This is not someone your abuser can charm or manipulate or intimidate. This is someone who sees through performances. This is someone who values truth over comfort. This is someone who does not care about protecting reputations built on destruction. And the question was asked, do you know who you hurt? Not as an accusation, not yet, but as a test, a trap, because the answer is already known. The person asking wants to see if your abuser will lie, will minimize, will play dumb, and every single response your abuser gives from this moment forward is being recorded, evaluated, used as evidence for what comes next. You want to know why this matters so much, because your abuser's entire existence is built on a foundation of other people's silence. Your abuser has gotten away with everything because victims stayed quiet, because society told you to move on, to forgive, to not make waves, to be the bigger person while your abuser continued destroying lives without consequence. But silence only works when everyone participates. And now someone broke the code. Someone with authority, with influence, with the ability to make things happen, asked the question out loud. And once that question is asked in rooms that matter, once powerful people start looking into what happened to you, the silence is over, the protection is gone, and your abuser is standing in the middle of a stage that was unknown, with lights pointing at every shadow that was meant to stay hidden. Here is the part that will drive your abuser crazy. Your abuser will not know who asked, will not know who knows, will not know how much information is out there, or how deep the investigation goes. Your abuser will start second-guessing everything, every conversation, every email, every person who knows the history, because paranoia is the price of being exposed when you thought you were invisible. Your abuser will lie awake at night wondering if you said something, wondering if someone else came forward, wondering if the entire empire of manipulation is about to collapse because one person decided to ask one question, and the answer is going to be worse than anything imagined, because your abuser hurt someone who mattered, someone who survived, someone who became evidence of cruelty just by continuing to exist and thrive despite everything that was done. Do you know what the cruelest part of this is? Your abuser still does not know, still thinks safety is guaranteed, still thinks the past is buried, still walks around with confidence, with arrogance, with that disgusting sense of entitlement that comes from never facing consequences. Your abuser hurt you and moved on, probably does not even think about you anymore. You are just another name in a long list of people who were stepped on to get to current positions, and that right there, that ignorance, that casual cruelty, that is what makes this moment so perfect. Because your abuser has no idea that someone is watching now, someone who matters, someone who has the power to make worlds collapse with one conversation, and your abuser is about to find out that forgetting about you was the biggest mistake ever made. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. Let me tell you what happens when someone at the top starts asking questions. First, there is confusion. People scramble, trying to figure out why this matters. Why now? Why you? Your abuser will probably laugh it off at first, will minimize, will say things like it was a long time ago. Things were complicated. You are being dramatic. Your abuser will try to control the narrative the way it has always been done. But here is the thing. The person asking the question is not asking for an explanation. This person is asking because the facts are already known. This person knows what happened. This person knows how you were treated. This person knows the lies your abuser told. And now this person wants to see if your abuser has the courage to tell the truth, or will keep lying, keep minimizing, keep pretending innocence exists, because every lie told now adds weight to the judgment that is coming. When that person at the top asked the question, "Do you know who you hurt?" it was not just making conversation, it was initiating a process, a formal inquiry that cannot be stopped once it starts, because people at that level do not ask questions in passing. Questions are asked that trigger protocols, that activate investigations, that set machinery in motion. Your abuser probably gave an answer, maybe laughed nervously, maybe played confused, maybe said your name does not ring a bell, maybe claimed you were difficult, unstable, someone who could not handle professional environments, maybe suggested you had problems your abuser tried to help with, maybe painted a picture of patience, understanding, someone who gave you chances you did not deserve, and every word of that response is now part of an official record. Every deflection, every lie, every attempt to rewrite history. It is all documented, it is time-stamped, it is witnessed, because that is how these things work. When people with real authority start asking questions, casual conversations do not happen about serious matters. Documented interviews happen that can be referenced later, cross-checked against other testimony, compared to evidence. Your abuser thinks talking a way out of it worked, thinks charm worked one more time, thinks the ability to seem reasonable and rational provided salvation again. Your abuser has no idea that the response was the worst thing that could have happened, because lying to someone who already knows the truth is not defense, it is confession, it is proof of character, it is evidence that maintaining the lie matters more than facing what was done. Your abuser thought reality could be controlled, thought if the version of the story was told loud enough, often enough, people would believe it, and for a while it worked. People believed, people sided with your abuser, people looked at you like you were the problem, and you carried that shame, did you not? You questioned yourself. You wondered if maybe you were too sensitive, too dramatic, too broken to be believed, but deep down you knew the truth, you knew what was done, you knew how reality was twisted, and you held on to that truth, even when nobody else would. Even when it felt like the whole world was gaslighting you into silence, you held on to it, and now someone else sees it too. Someone who has the power to do something about it. Someone who is not afraid of your abuser's reputation, or connections, or carefully crafted image. Now let me put you on to something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks, while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with a cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. You do not need revenge. You do not need vindication. You do not need apologies or acknowledgement of what was done, because you already healed. You already moved on. You already built a life that can never be touched. But justice is not about you needing it. Justice is about the universe correcting itself, about consequences finally catching up to people who thought they were above them. And that question, do you know who you hurt? It is not being asked for your benefit. It is being asked because someone at the top realized that people like your abuser do not just hurt one person, hurt everyone touched, leave trails of destruction everywhere, and eventually someone has to stop it. And that someone just asked the first question, and your abuser has no idea what comes next. What comes next is more questions, not to your abuser yet, to others, to people who were there, to people who witnessed things, to people who heard things, to people who know things. Because once someone at the top decides to investigate, reliance does not rest on one person's word. A case gets built. Evidence gets gathered from multiple sources, a timeline gets created, patterns get looked for, and those people, the ones being quietly interviewed now, are making calculations, weighing options, deciding whether to tell the truth or protect your abuser. And most are going to choose truth, not because integrity suddenly developed, but because the direction of the wind is clear. Because you can tell when someone is being protected versus when someone is being investigated. And right now, your abuser is being investigated. This is about the unraveling of an entire false reality. Your abuser built a life on a carefully constructed lie, built a reputation, built relationships, built success, all of it standing on a foundation of people who were destroyed along the way. And foundations like that do not collapse all at once. Crack slowly, quietly, one question at a time, one investigation at a time, one person at a time, realizing lies were told. And right now, the first crack just appeared. Someone at the top asked the question. And now, other people are going to start asking questions too. People who trusted your abuser, people who defended your abuser, people who looked the other way because it was easier than facing the truth. They are all about to have a very uncomfortable awakening. You know what happens when one person with authority starts questioning someone's character. Everyone else starts paying attention. People who ignored red flags, people who dismissed victims, people who participated in the cover-up, whether knowing it or not. They all start re-evaluating. They start remembering things, small things, moments that did not make sense at the time, comments that seemed off, behavior that felt wrong but could not quite be named. And suddenly, all those little moments start forming a pattern, a picture, a truth that can no longer be denied. And your abuser is going to watch in real time as people who once supported your abuser start stepping back, start questioning, start distancing themselves, because nobody wants to be associated with someone who is about to be exposed. Nobody wants to be the person who defended a monster. Someone at the top is not just asking about you. This person is asking about others. This person is asking if anyone else had similar experiences. This person is asking if patterns were noticed. This person is asking if there were complaints that were ignored. This person is asking if there were warnings that were dismissed. And people are talking, people are remembering, people are sharing, because that is what happens when someone with real authority creates a safe space for truth. The floodgates open, the silence breaks, the secrets come out. Your abuser thought control over the narrative was permanent. Your abuser thought their version of events was the only version that mattered. Your abuser was wrong. Right now, there are emails being searched, messages being reviewed, calendars being examined, because when someone at the top asks, "Do you know who you hurt?" the question is not asked in isolation. The question is asked as part of a larger examination of behavior, of patterns, of culture. The investigation is looking at how your abuser operated, how people were treated when nobody was watching, how power was wielded, how being questioned was responded to, how being told no was handled, and what is being found is not pretty. The investigation is finding evidence of a person who believed rules did not apply, who believed position gave permission to treat people however desired, who believed charm and manipulation were substitutes for actual competence and character. The investigation is finding evidence of someone who hurt you and thought nothing of it, who moved on to the next victim without a second thought, who built success on the backs of broken people. Your abuser has no idea how deep this goes now. Your abuser thinks it was one question, one moment, one uncomfortable conversation that was talked through. Your abuser has no clue that the question was just the visible part of something much larger, the tip of an iceberg that has been forming beneath the surface for longer than realized. Because people at the top do not wake up randomly and decide to ask about you. Something triggered it. Something brought you to attention. Something made someone look closer. Your abuser probably spent a long time telling people that you were the problem, that you were unstable, dramatic, vindictive, probably painted a picture of being the victim of your chaos, and people believed because your abuser is good at performing innocence, knows how to cry on cue, how to manipulate sympathy, how to make it look like being the reasonable one while you looked crazy. But now someone with power is looking at the situation with clear eyes and seeing what you saw all along. Seeing the manipulation, the gaslighting, the cruelty disguised as care, and asking the question your abuser never wanted anyone to ask. Do you know who you hurt? Because if knowing was real, if understanding was true, if the depth of damage caused was actually comprehended, the performance could not be maintained. Looking people in the eye and pretending innocence would not be possible. Let me tell you what your abuser is about to lose. First, the narrative, the ability to control how people see the situation. Because once someone at the top questions character, everyone else starts questioning too. Second, protection. All those people who enabled, who covered, who looked the other way, they are going to start protecting themselves instead. Nobody goes down with a sinking ship when the option to jump exists. Third, credibility. Everything built, every relationship, every achievement, every moment of respect ever received, it all gets re-examined through the lens of what was done to you and everyone else who was hurt. And fourth, peace. Because once you know someone is asking questions about you, once you know your past is being investigated, you can never relax again. Every phone call could be the one, every meeting could be the confrontation, every message could contain the evidence, every moment could be when everything falls apart, and that psychological torture, that constant fear, That is the beginning of justice. Your abuser is about to learn something fundamental about how the universe works. You can run from consequences for a while, you can hide, you can manipulate reality, you can silence victims, but eventually someone asks the right question, and once that question is asked, everything buried starts clawing its way to the surface, and there is no stopping it. There is no damage control, there is no spinning the narrative, there is only the truth, raw, ugly, undeniable, coming for everything built on the backs of broken people. Questions are not asked unless answers are already known. Investigations do not happen unless suspicion already exists. Your name is not brought up unless your story is already known to matter. So when someone at the top asked, "Do you know who you hurt?" information was not being sought, character was being tested, an opportunity was being created for your abuser to tell the truth, to take accountability, to show even a shred of remorse, and your abuser, being exactly who has always been, probably failed that test spectacularly. Probably lied, probably minimized, probably blamed you, probably played the victim, and every single word said in response to that question was recorded, remembered, added to a growing file of evidence that your abuser is exactly what you always knew. Now let me tell you what your abuser is starting to notice. Small changes, subtle shifts, meetings your abuser is not invited to anymore, decisions being made without input, projects being reassigned, responsibilities being redistributed. Your abuser is being quietly moved to the margins, not fired, not confronted, not yet, just gradually isolated, systematically separated from power and influence, because that is how organizations handle this when someone at the top is investigating. Dramatic moves that could be legally challenged are not made, strategic adjustments happen, distance gets created, exposure gets limited, preparation happens for what might be coming. Your abuser might notice not being copied on certain emails anymore, that people who used to seek opinions no longer do, and your abuser will probably interpret this wrong, will think jealousy is happening, will think office politics is at play, will think someone is trying to undermine, will not realize the truth, that people are not moving against, people are moving away. There is a difference. One is attack, the other is abandonment, and abandonment is so much worse. You want to know why this moment is so powerful, because for a long time you carried the weight of what happened to you alone. You tried to tell people, and were not believed. You tried to get help and were dismissed. You tried to move on, and the trauma followed like a shadow. And through all of that, your abuser lived freely, moved through the world unburdened, built success on your suffering, smiled in public while you cried in private, thrived while you barely survived, and nobody stopped it, nobody questioned, nobody asked for explanations until now. Now someone with actual authority, with real power, with the ability to make consequences happen, asked the question, and your abuser's response, whatever it was, is about to determine everything that comes next. Because people at the top do not forget, do not let things go. When questions are asked and answers are not liked, action happens, and action from people with power is the only thing people like your abuser actually fear. Once someone at the top starts questioning someone's character, other people start coming forward. People who were too scared before, people who thought they were alone, people who assumed nobody would believe them. They are hearing that someone is asking questions and finding courage. They are sharing stories. They are adding voices to yours. And suddenly your abuser is not dealing with one victim who can be discredited. Your abuser is dealing with a pattern, a history. Multiple people saying the same things, describing the same behaviors, exposing the same tactics, and patterns are impossible to deny. Patterns are evidence, patterns are proof, and your abuser is about to be buried under the weight of every person who was thought to be silenced, every victim who was thought to be erased, every life that was thought to not matter. They all matter now because someone at the top asked the question, and now everyone is answering. The moment of realizing nobody is coming to save. The moment of looking around and seeing that all the people who used to protect are gone. All the enablers, all the defenders, all the people who looked the other way, all suddenly very busy, suddenly very quiet, suddenly very concerned with protecting their own reputations, and your abuser is about to experience that loneliness in ways never imagined. Because when someone at the top asks questions about you, everyone beneath starts calculating, starts asking, is defending this person worth risking my own position, my own reputation, my own future? And the answer is always no. Always. Nobody sacrifices themselves for someone who is about to be exposed. Nobody goes down defending someone whose actions are coming to light. Your abuser thought allies existed, thought people would stand by no matter what. But those were never allies. Those were accomplices. People who benefited from the same system of silence and manipulation. People who needed your abuser to be innocent. Because if your abuser is guilty, then their own complicity exists. They turn, they flip, they save themselves. The moment someone at the top starts asking questions, accomplices become witnesses. They start sharing what is known. They start admitting what was seen. They start distancing themselves from the sinking ship as fast as possible. And your abuser is going to watch in real time as everyone who claimed to support your abuser suddenly develops amnesia, suddenly does not remember things quite the same way, suddenly has concerns that were never voiced before. Your abuser reaches out to someone considered a close colleague, someone who laughed at jokes, someone who went to lunch, someone who seemed to be on the same side, and that person does not answer, or if answering happens, the warmth is gone, the easy rapport has vanished. The conversation is brief, professional, distant. Your abuser asks for support on something. That support does not come. Your abuser asks for backup in a meeting. That backup does not materialize. Your abuser tries to have a private conversation with someone trusted. That person suddenly has somewhere else to be, has another commitment, will have to catch up later, but later never comes. The universe has been watching. The universe has been keeping score. The universe has been waiting for the exact right moment when your abuser felt most safe, most comfortable, most confident in immunity from consequences, because that is when the fall hits hardest, when you think you are untouchable, when you believe you have finally escaped the past, when you are convinced that enough time has passed, that nobody cares anymore. That is when the question gets asked. That is when someone at the top decides it is time to investigate. That is when the whole carefully constructed facade starts to crumble, and you are not even involved in this. You are not orchestrating anything. You are not plotting revenge, or pulling strings, or manipulating outcomes. You are just living your life. You are healing. You are growing. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be before someone tried to destroy you. And that is the most powerful position of all, because while scrambling is happening, while panicking is occurring, while lying awake at night wondering who knows what and how bad it is going to get, is the reality for your abuser. You are sleeping peacefully. You are moving forward. You are thriving. And the universe is handling the justice part without you having to lift a finger. Think about the precision of this moment. Your abuser did not get exposed when at the weakest point, did not face consequences when already struggling, did not get questioned when vulnerable. No, the universe waited. The universe let the climbing go higher, let the comfort settle in, let the belief in safety solidify. Let everything be invested into the false identity that was built. Let things accumulate that could be lost. Because consequences mean nothing if nothing exists to lose. But your abuser has everything to lose now. Has reputation, has status, has respect, has influence, has the admiration of people who do not know what the reality is, and all of that is about to be taken away, not by you, by the natural order of things reasserting itself, by truth finally catching up to lies, by justice finally arriving for someone who thought being above it was guaranteed. You are not the one bringing anyone down. You are not the one calling anyone out. You are not the one who initiated the investigation. You literally just existed, just survived, just healed, just thrived, and your existence, your healing, your success despite what was done to you, that is what triggered someone at the top to take notice. That is what made someone with power ask questions, because when someone tries to destroy you and you refuse to stay destroyed, that is a statement, that is evidence, that is proof that something wrong happened. People at the top recognize this. They see someone who should be broken but is not, someone who should be bitter but radiates peace, someone who should be stuck but is soaring, and they start asking why someone tried to stop you, what threatened them about you, what was done to try to keep you down. Information like this spreads, questions like this create ripples, and soon, very soon, someone is going to confront your abuser directly, someone is going to ask for explanations, someone is going to demand accountability, and when that moment comes, when standing face to face with the consequences thought would never have to be faced, your abuser is going to remember you. Your abuser is going to think about what was done. Your abuser is going to realize that dismissing you, underestimating you, assuming you did not matter, that was the fatal mistake, because chosen ones do not need to fight their own battles. The universe fights for them. Divine justice does not operate on human timelines. It does not rush. It does not forget. It waits for the perfect moment, and then it strikes with precision that takes your breath away. Your abuser thought time was an ally, thought distance would protect, thought victims would stay silent forever. Wrong. Time was not protecting. Time was building the case. Every moment of walking free was another moment the universe was gathering evidence. Every victim created was another witness. Every lie told was another rope in the noose, now being stood under, and the person at the top who asked the question is not going to let this go. People like that, people with real power and actual integrity, they do not ask questions without intending to follow up. They do not shine lights on darkness unless prepared to deal with what is found. This person asked because readiness to act exists. This person asked because the authority to make things happen exists. This person asked because belief in accountability exists. Your abuser is going to lose everything valued, not everything owned, everything valued. There is a difference, because what your abuser valued was image, reputation, the appearance of being a good person, the ability to move through the world respected, admired, trusted. That is what was valued. That is what the entire identity was built around. And that is what is about to be destroyed. The job might remain, the house might remain, the material possessions might remain, but the thing that mattered most is going to be lost. The ability to pretend innocence, the protection of people's ignorance, the comfort of believing nobody knows what the reality is. Sleep is being lost. Focus is being lost. The easy confidence that used to exist is being lost, because somewhere in the mind, alarm bells are ringing. Somewhere in the gut, knowing that something is wrong exists. Your abuser just cannot identify what it is yet. So your abuser is on edge, hypervigilant, reading into every interaction, analyzing every conversation, looking for threats that cannot quite be seen, but can definitely be felt. This is what happens when someone at the top asks the question. Even before your abuser knows the question was asked, the energy shifts. The universe starts withdrawing support for the false reality. The protection that was not known to exist starts to disappear. The luck that was thought to be skill starts to run out. Things that used to work stop working. People who used to be easy to manipulate see through it now. Situations that used to be controlled slip through fingers. Your abuser might attribute this to stress or bad timing or coincidence, will not realize the truth that when divine justice activates, everything shifts. The universe stops conspiring in favor when operating outside of truth and integrity has been the mode. The universe stops protecting people who hurt innocent others. The universe stops allowing predators to thrive when chosen ones are ready to rise. And chosen one, you are ready to rise. You have been ready. You have been healing. You have been growing. You have been transforming pain into power. And now the universe is clearing the path for you. The universe is removing the obstacles. The universe is dealing with the people who tried to stop you, not because you asked for it, but because it is time, because you have done your part. You healed yourself. You rebuilt yourself. You became who you were meant to be, despite everything done to stop you. And chosen one, you are going to witness this from a distance. You are not going to be caught up in it. You are not going to be dragged through it. You are not going to have to testify or explain or defend yourself, because the universe does not need your help to deliver justice. The universe just needs you to keep being who you are. Keep healing, keep growing, keep shining, because your light, your resilience, your refusal to stay broken, that is all the evidence the universe needs that your abuser failed. Your abuser tried to destroy you and could not, tried to break you, and you put yourself back together stronger, tried to silence you, and you found your voice, tried to erase you, and you became unforgettable. Every single moment you wake up and choose to live fully, to love deeply, to create boldly, you are proving that winning did not happen for your abuser. You are demonstrating that the power over you was an illusion. You are showing the universe and everyone watching that chosen ones cannot be destroyed by ordinary predators. So let your abuser deal with the reckoning. Let the consequences be faced. Let the weight of actions finally catching up be experienced. That is not your concern anymore. Your concern is continuing to build the beautiful life you have created. Your concern is protecting the peace you have found. Your concern is honoring the journey that brought you here. Because, chosen one, you did not survive everything you survived just to spend your freedom watching anyone fall. You survived to fly, and that is exactly what you are going to keep doing. Look at you now, sitting there calm, collected, powerful, the same person who was hurt, betrayed, destroyed by someone who thought you did not matter, but you healed in silence, you rebuilt in darkness, you transformed in private. And now the universe is making noise on your behalf. Now the universe is shining lights on your story. Now the universe is vindicating you in public, while you rest in private. The question was asked. The investigation has begun. The truth is coming to light. And you get to witness it all from a place of complete detachment. Not because you do not care, but because you already healed. You already moved on. You already became someone who does not need anyone's downfall to validate your worth. You know your worth. You know your power. You know your purpose. And nothing done or not done can change that anymore. The universe asked the question. The universe is delivering the justice. And you get to keep rising while it all unfolds exactly as it was always meant to. Remember that. Remember who you are. Remember what you survived. Remember what you became. Remember that you are a chosen one, and chosen ones do not just survive. They transform, they transcend, they triumph, and keep moving forward into the extraordinary destiny that has been waiting for you all along. Someone at the top asked your abuser the question, do you know who you hurt? And whether your abuser knows it yet or not, the time has run out. Your time to rise has just begun. The question was asked, and everything changes